Well, hello everybody. Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaMan Living Life with Purity. And today I want to go back a little bit and I want to talk about the Shroud of Turin and the image that is actually portrayed in the Shroud of Turin for witnesses and scientists and believers to examine. And here is the actual picture of the Shroud of Turin. This is part of the display that my friend Alex had been taking around the country for decades, trying to examine, help explain things to people all over the country and the world. I mean, he took this thing into Southeast Asia and the Philippines, and so he has extensively traveled with it. But we had this image of apparently a dead person who had been physically abused, we will call crucified, as was done by the Romans in their practice of executing criminals or people outside the gates to thwart other people who might be thinking of doing the same thing. So it was a very public display that was going on. But with this image of this deceased man that we will call Jesus, okay, it came upon reasoning to say, well, what did this guy look like alive? You know, is there any way we could take this image here and try to figure out what this guy looked like in true life form? So through the benefits of AI, it was processed through the artificial intelligence algorithms, you know, metrics, whatever it is that they do. And this is the image they came up with. This is the image they say that the man on the cloth looked like, actually animated and full of life. Could this be Jesus? What Jesus actually looked like? It's safe to say that it's a pretty good assessment there. So I think we're going to stick with that one. So I think that's pretty cool. So in the same process of trying to come up with more analysis about other religions, not just the Christianity that this one portrays, and Jesus being the center of our Christian faith on that, I started looking into Islam and Prophet Muhammad that so many people say existed, but nobody ever saw. And there weren't any other drawings or no evidence was left behind of this man's actual existence. There's a lot of talk about him, but there's no actual physical existence, and no one who talks about him or wrote about him ever actually saw him. So is this man real? Was he real? Or was he somebody's imagination? You know, kind of like a Walt Disney character. You know, it tells a story. It creates a feeling in the people. You know, all these attributes that go towards fine storytelling. So without having actual evidence of this person, one has to be left to thinking that this had to be more of a scripted storyline. So in the search of more evidence, I ran across another book. And this book was written about 100 years ago by a rather famous archbishop of the Catholic Church. And he was talking about things that had to do with Mohammedanism, which is what they called Islam 100 years ago, Mohammedanism. And in this book was an actual picture of the Prophet Muhammad. Believe it. It's in the book. You have to believe it because it's in the book. As our Islamist friends would say, you have to believe it because it's in the book. The book doesn't lie. It's in the book. So with that being said, what I did was I took the actual image that was in the book, and this is what it was. Doesn't really show you anything, does it? Very nondescript. But 100 years ago, we didn't have AI. And so what we did was we ran the image through the same AI processes that they used to do the Shroud of Turin exhibit to come up with the animated lifelike vision of Jesus, or the image of the person on the cloth, and we'll just say it's Jesus. But here's what we came up with this AI-generated picture of the Prophet Muhammad. Maybe Walt Disney was onto something. In the meantime, I love you, and I'll be back.